Right, grade 9. So, in the previous section of the life science part of natural science, we did look at the digestive system in great detail. And on our mind map that we had constructed of the different systems that we would be looking at, obviously the digestive system was the first one. And we looked at the integration of all these systems and how they work in our body as well. And now we're moving on to the circulatory system. Okay, and we're going to construct a little bit. If we can, we'll construct a mind map. But there's quite a bit of drawings that we need to pay attention to, and also looking at the same three things, which is components, health issues as well, and there's one other component. Let me just see. There's one other. There was health issues, components. Processes. Processes is the other one. Okay, so let's get started on setting up our little blank canvas over here. All right, now first thing that's worth mentioning, okay, before we start drawing, is that everybody has a circulatory system. All right, circulatory, circulation. All right, those words are obviously interlinked. All right, connected. Okay, so you have a circulatory system to bring nutrients. Okay, so the first thing here, obviously your circulatory system brings in nutrients. Okay, nutrients, minerals. Nutrients are those essential bits of substances, okay, that our body needs for functioning. Right, those nutrients enhance the functionality of our bodies. All right, as well as oxygen. Okay, because oxygen is obviously a very vital element that our body needs, okay, to stay alive. Okay, it's not the main one, but it's a vital one. Okay, nutrients and oxygen, of course. So that circulatory system brings nutrients and oxygen, all right, to what? Okay, to the cells. Okay, remember when we looked at cell structure as the basic units of life, all right, to the cells. Okay, the cells need nutrients and they need oxygen because that's how the cells reproduce, all right, and get rid of waste products. Okay, let's introduce it with a bit of a drawing. So in the body, there is two types of circulations that obviously occur. Okay, one, body circulation, and two, lung circulation. So the solid lines, that indicates the circulation that is from the body. Okay, and of course the other one is the dotted line is circulation from the lung. Now notice that we have two different colors over there. All right, we have blue and red. Okay, and the key on the right hand side over here is blood with and without oxygen. Okay, and notice the two different colors. Okay, blue is the color of blood when no oxygen has reached it yet, but once we have a cut and blood gets exposed, then it becomes red. So whenever oxygen is traveling to our blood cells, then they become the blood turns red, but oxygen or blood cells that haven't obviously encountered or haven't received oxygen yet will remain blue, of course. Okay, sweet. Okay, so that's this little drawing. There is a little bit more of an intricate drawing. All right, is a bit of a more intricate drawing, but it's not necessary to draw that. Okay, just to explain it, obviously the body systems obviously all flow from the heart and to the heart and then to the lungs. Okay, so we're just going to dabble into these little two processes, okay, because the two main processes of the circulatory system, all right, is called the lung circulation as well as the body circulation. So we're just going to construct a little table, and then we're going to have a look at the components, obviously, which would be the heart, your blood vessels. And in the heart, we know there are some other components such as arteries, there's veins, there's capillaries, all right, and then we'll also dabble then into the health issues. Okay, so let's move forward. So what we have here is a table constructed where we describe what happens between the two circulation processes that happen within the circulatory system, from the heart to the lung and the lung back to the heart. First things first, we're going to have a look at the lung description, or the lung circulation description rather. Alright, it's rather that blood with low oxygen is pumped by the heart, and that's pumped to the lungs. Okay, blood, once it's pumped to our lungs, is obviously now receiving oxygen. Alright, as we breathe in, our lungs expand and contract. Okay, that's where most of that exchange obviously happens. Okay, once it picks up oxygen, the blood gets rid of carbon dioxide, which is CO2. And then the blood, now rich in oxygen because it's given up carbon dioxide now and has received oxygen, will return back to the heart. Okay, rich in oxygen or high in oxygen. So oxygenated blood now goes back to the heart, and so on and so forth. Then what happens in the body circulation is that blood, which is now rich in oxygen, will be pumped by the heart to the rest of the body. When it goes to the rest of the body, of course, it loses oxygen and starts picking up more carbon dioxide. Okay, so once that blood now picks up carbon dioxide, it is now low in oxygen because it's got more CO2 than pure O2. Okay, it will now return to the heart, where the lung circulation process will now restart itself, and so on and so forth. It just keeps going, 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 just keeps going. Okay, I can also keep going just like that, but I mean that will get highly annoying and boring, but you get my point. Alright, so that's what happens in our bodies. That's currently taking place right now in our bodies. Okay, so blood with low oxygen will be pumped from the right side of our heart to the lungs, and then the rich in oxygen blood will come from the left side of our heart. Alright, that will return, and then it'll just keep circling around, and just circling, and just circling, and just circling. Okay, now obviously there are different components of the circulatory system. Okay, and one of that is the heart. Okay, so let's go have a look more at the heart. Okay, the heart obviously being one of the main cunane, alright, one of the main vessels in obviously transporting blood to our bodies. Okay, so let's go have a look at it. Now, a couple of things worth mentioning about the heart is that the circulatory system works using a special pump. Okay, so the heart is kind of considered to be a special pump. Okay, a special pump. Okay, now it's pretty much the center. All right, what is the center obviously of our chest? Okay, so it pretty much is in the center of our body. Now, if something is in the center, that means it's very, very important. Okay, our heart being obviously very, very important. Okay, so I don't know how many of you know, if anybody would like to take a guess about how many liters of blood the heart actually pumps in its lifetime. Okay, it's a rhetorical question, so you don't need to answer it, maybe just think about it. But I am going to state that your heart will have to pump, alright, just put that down, okay. Your heart will have to pump about 300 million liters of blood. Okay, that's pretty large amount. Okay, 300 million, all right, liters of blood during your lifetime, unless your life is shortened, then not so much. Okay, but for it to be called, sorry, I missed the one up. For your heart to be called a healthy, strong organ, it will have to pump about 300 milliliters of blood in your lifetime. Okay, so your heart has to be strong. Okay, for the heart to do that, it has to be efficient. It has to be a strong organ, which it is. okay, which it is evolved, which it has evolved to be, obviously in this time, okay, even up until now. Okay, you all sound like you're very healthy, very strong young kids. All right, so your heart is pretty strong right now, and it's doing good things. Okay, your heart is actually not one pump, all right, but rather it's two pumps. Okay, it's two pumps that are joined together. Okay, if you decide to take life science, I think when I was at school, and I was still in grade 9, obviously my natural science teacher was also a life science teacher, and he had actual live ox hearts in his laboratory that he would use for his grade 10, 11, and 12s. Obviously, they were studying the heart. Okay, so if you decide to take life science, who knows? Maybe you'll have a look at some hearts, actual hearts. Anyway, cool. So there are two pumps joined together. Okay, there's the right side, and of course there's the left side. Okay, let's unpack a little bit more about which side performs which function. Okay, the right side, okay, pumps blood into the lung circulation. Okay, so this pumps blood to the lungs. Okay, the left side pumps blood to the body. Okay, pumps blood to the body. Okay, and of course we know they circulate. It works very hard without stopping. Okay, your heart never stops. Okay, unless when, of course, if it does, you no longer live. Okay, but while you're alive, your heart is the one part of your body that doesn't stop. You can physically rest your body, sit down on a chair, go to sleep, but your heart continues. So you need to look after it, right? You need to keep it boosting, right? You need to boost it, you need to keep it healthy so you can live longer. Okay. Now, that is the heart. The next component of our circulatory system we're going to have a look at is something called blood vessels. Okay? We all have blood vessels in our body. So we'll be moving on to vessels. Okay, it's particularly blood vessels. There are 3 kinds, okay, that run through our body, and which obviously blood is circulated. Okay. The thickest, or one of the thickest, of course, is our arteries. Arteries. Okay. We'll start with the first one, and we'll take a couple of points. Okay. So first of all, they're about 5 millimeters thick. Okay. A millimeter might not seem like very much, but I mean, in terms of our bodies, it is quite. Okay, they're about 5 millimeters thick. Okay, they have a thick muscle layer over them with some inner lining. And what do they do? The main function here is the arteries. They carry blood away from where? From the heart. Okay. They carry blood away from the heart, and they have to be very thick. All right, they have very thick muscular walls. Okay, so they're quite thick things in our heart. Very thick muscular walls. Fantastic. And then, of course, veins. We have veins as well. Okay, now veins are also about 5 millimeters. Okay. And veins, they carry blood towards the heart. Okay, they carry blood towards the heart, but they have much thinner walls compared to the arteries. Okay, much thinner. And then there is a third component of blood vessels, and that's called capillaries. All right. As mentioned, last one, capillaries. Okay, it's very tiny. All right, they're about 0.005 millimeters, very tiny. All right, and their wall is made only of inner lining, and they are very tiny, and it's a very thin wall. All right, and the reason for this is so that the liquid part can leak out. All right, so what happens, just to jump back to the vein have a very thin muscle layer, unlike the arteries, very thick, and of course blood flows through the vein. Okay, and then the capillaries obviously is for any liquid to leak out. All right, so it's very tiny, so it's almost like a small little outlet for just liquid parts to just leak out. So what's very I wouldn't say special, okay, but interesting rather to note, is that blood is obviously a very special liquid, right? It doesn't exist anywhere else other than in humans and animals, or in a body type system, okay? And of course it is made of a watery substance, right, that contains 3 different types of blood cells, and they all perform a different job. Okay, the blood tissue is extremely complicated, okay, to understand, or it's just complicated in terms of how it's put together and how it exists. But if you decide to take life science in grade 10, then you will learn more about blood tissue in grade 10 if you decide to take life science. Okay, so that's what you've got to look forward to if you decide to take life science in grade 10. Fantastic. Now, what are some of the health issues? All right. What are some of the health issues that do attack the circulatory system, the heart, the lungs? All right. One of those first issues is high blood pressure. Okay. High blood pressure. Yes, high blood pressure is obviously one of the first health issues and common health issues. Okay, I don't know if if high blood pressure loves men, but I do know a lot of guys, or a lot of males rather, that have had high blood pressure. One of those was my father. Of course, he had high blood pressure. Okay, and what high blood pressure is, or blood pressure, is pressure from the heart. Okay, that pushes blood through the arteries in each heartbeat. Okay, the pressure will start high and then drops as the heart relaxes. Okay, because the heart does relax for I wouldn't say a split second, but I would say a second, maybe second or two. The heart relaxes. Okay, of course, when you are doing exercise, the heart pumps blood a bit faster. Okay, but in a normal space like now, when our body is relaxed, not performing much activity, obviously the blood pressure starts high and drops as the heart relaxes, ready for the next heartbeat. If a person's blood pressure is very high, okay, it is called hypertension. Okay, it doesn't mean that they are hyperactive, but hypertension, okay, the heart works too hard. It's working too hard, and of course, if it's overworking itself, it can cause itself damage. All right. Now, hypertension can be caused by many things. Okay, and one of the things that can cause hypertension, of course, is it runs in the family. Okay, in other words, it's passed down from generation. Okay, one person had it, didn't deal with it, passed it down. Okay, smoking. Okay, we all know cigarettes. Very harmful. Okay, that goes without explanation. Okay, it narrows the arteries, and of course then raises the blood pressure. A high salt diet, something that we probably didn't think, right? But if you eat a diet that's a lot of salty food, or you put a lot of salt on your food, salt would increase the amount of water you take in, and therefore increase the volume of blood. So salt is not bad, but too much salt is bad, obviously. Salt adds flavor to your food. Salt has a lot of other benefits as well, but too much, of course, bad for you. Stress and also obesity. Okay, obesity, if you have extra fat, it means that there are extra blood vessels, so the heart must beat harder to get the blood around to your vital organs. Okay, and we'll just do 4. Okay, but another one that's worth mentioning is obviously your age. Okay, as you get older, your arteries are less elastic and they stop helping the blood being pumped. So the arteries are not working as hard, they're less elastic, they become a bit narrower as well, so the heart works a bit harder to get that blood across. Okay, so what would be a good solution? Okay, a good solution to sort out hypertension? Okay, well, 1, reduce the amount of stress in your life. Okay, relax, control what you can control, and what you can't, give it over to God. 2, stop smoking. Yeah, if you smoke, please be careful. If you smoke, if you are planning on smoking, please be careful. Eat a diet, okay, with I would say moderate salt or moderated salt. In other words, you're monitoring your salt intake, right? They say pink salt is healthier than normal table salt. Pink salt is healthier, so that's also a good alternative. Right, anything else? And obviously stop eating out. Too much fast food, too much fatty foods. All right, stop that. Okay, which would obviously decrease your amount of heart attacks and strokes. Okay. Another health issue, all right, just to mention, of course, is heart attacks. Okay, high blood pressure is only one, all right, but leads into another one, which is heart attacks. Okay, so I don't know if any of you understand, but something just worth mentioning, of course, is the heart attack only happens when one of the arteries feeding the muscles of the heart, it becomes too narrow, or it is blocked by a fatty deposit. All right. That's why my rugby coach, when I was at school, used to say he doesn't like those chips, flings, and those cheese curls, those puffy type chips, bubbles that exist here in South Africa, Cape Town, because those chips they clog up your arteries, and then now the blood can't pass through, and then you go into panic, and then you have a heart attack. Okay, that's just an example. Okay, and another one, of course, is strokes. Okay, a stroke is obviously similar to a heart attack. Okay, because it's caused by a blockage of the artery, which is feeding not a part to the heart, but feeding the passage to the brain. All right, so stroke has to do with your brain, and a heart attack obviously has to do with your heart. Okay, so when a section of your brain dies because it has no blood supply, the function of the part also stops. So the certain section of your brain that dealt with communicating movements of your left arm, if that dies, of course that brain dies because you had a stroke, you can no longer use your left arm. Okay, so that function also stops because there's no blood supply. Okay. Therefore, signs of a stroke differ from person to person, right? You could lose the ability to speak, or to move one side of the body, or to think clearly. It all depends on where the damage happens, okay? It is always serious, and a stroke victim obviously may become an invalid. When I say invalid, or invalid, as they call it, invalid, for the rest of their life. In other words, they could be a vegetable, like a vegetable in a wheelchair, So it's a very serious accident. I wouldn't say accident. It's obviously a very serious thing that happens, or it causes very severe or serious damage once a person has had a stroke. All right, person can sometimes still survive a heart attack and come back with full functionality. Okay, but a stroke usually has a bit more serious consequences. All right, if that section or that part of your brain dies that dealt with moving your arm, you have your arm, but you can't use it. It's like it might as well not even be there. Okay, so those are some of the health issues, okay, that deal or that occur in the circulatory system, which is dealt with blood obviously circulating to parts of the body, and when it doesn't get there, as we can see, some serious damage or some serious consequences do happen. And that concludes my presentation for today on the circulatory system. Please stay tuned for the next one, where we will have a look at the respiratory system.